delay. Starting with the Florida game, obviously a very physical, hard-fought game, decided by one score. Certainly credit Coach Mullen and his staff for a good game plan there. Our performance indicators for the game, which we look at to kind of gauge what the outcome is going to be. I thought we did a much better job with the penalties, bringing those down from 16 to 2, so that was a positive there. Won the turnover battle, 1-0. Lost the explosive play battle, and that is something, on both sides of the ball we need to improve, but particularly on offense, where, through the years and for the first 3 games, it's something that we thrive on and need for us to be successful. That was certainly lacking again on the offensive end. Third down conversion percentage we lost, and then red zone, we were 0 for 2 in touchdowns there, 7 for 2 field goals, and they had the 1 touchdown in there. Defensively, I thought we played for the second week in a row well enough to win. We bent, but we didn't break. Played a little bit better on third down than we did offensively, and certainly in the compete zone down in the red zone did a good job, outside the one-trick play, holding the field goals, and, the defense continually gave us an opportunity to get the ball back and get a chance to score and win. Special teams-wise, I thought we held our own, and I didn't think we did anything to kind of influence the game one way or the other. We did lose the field position battle, but I thought we had a solid special teams game, and then certainly offensively for the second week in a row, performing well below our standard, with 2 field goals and not being able to put the ball in the end zone for a touchdown. And once again, from an accountability standpoint, the first thumb goes at me. I oversee the game plan and I call the plays. So that one's on me, and that's one that's going to get fixed. And, from an overall team standpoint, I thought we lacked the precision and consistency necessary to win a game of that level against that caliber of an opponent. And talk about the SEC being a margin of error football league. And, there were, as you look at it, probably, 4 or 5 plays that had they swung, the other direction, could have flipped the outcome. And, we didn't make them. So I need to do a better job of putting the kids in position to be successful, certainly on the offensive side of the ball. And when we do make good calls and it's dialed up the right way, then we got to find a way to execute the plays. So obviously no players or scouts of the week or helmet stickers. Student athletes of the week for this week were Keith Mixon and Jaquarius Landrews. From an injury standpoint, really not much has changed from last week. A bunch of bumps and bruises from the game. Like I said, very physical. But the things that we had heading into the week are the same ones that we're going to have heading into this week. So nothing major changing from that standpoint. Moving on to Auburn, obviously led by Gus Malzahn, 49-23 in his 6 years there. Has won or played in the conference championship in 7 of his 12 seasons as a head coach, and was a 2013 National Coach of the Year. Their prolific offense is led by quarterback coach Chip Lindsey. They played a spread, use a variety of personnel groupings, and some unorthodox formations, which throughout the season, we've kind of seen them more and more, formation in the sideline, trips in the sideline, so that's something we're going to have to defend again. Averaging 33 points a game, rushing for 179 and throwing for 198. The quarterback, Jared Stidham, is a fantastic player, 963 yards passing this year, operates the system well. A lot of people have him, ranked or graded as a potential first-round prospect. 2 running backs, very, very talented, Cam Martin, number 9, and 28, Jatarvius Whitlow, he's their leading rusher. And then wide receiver number 23, Ryan Davis, quick, agile, veteran, senior, certainly a guy that we're going to have to, pay close attention to on the back end. Defense led by Kevin Steele, a longtime NFL and college coordinator, does a fantastic job. Once again, like the other teams we've seen, a mix of 3 and 4 down, play 1 high, 2 high man zone coverages. Third down, do a great job of pressuring. They are the 3rd ranked scoring defense in the country, 5th in third down conversion percentage, and 7th in turnovers. They've given up 5 touchdowns the entire season, and only 1 of them on the ground. And interesting to see, looking at the scoring defense rankings from this year, that 6 of the top 10 scoring defenses are from the SEC, and we've played 2 of those 3 already. And now we'll have another opportunity to go against one this week. Special teams led by Larry Porter, his 2nd year. Kind of a simple scheme that allows his players to play fast, averaging almost 30 yards on a kickoff return with 1 touchdown. They have blocked 2 punts and they have a 14.5 yard average. and have a bunch of guys there. The punter, number 90, extremely accurate, averaging almost 45 a kick with 5 over 50 and 6 inside the 20. And the kicker has 85% touchbacks, 6 of 12 on field goals, with a long of 53. All right, moving forward to the things that we're going to need to do to be successful. We're going to have to continue to stick together. We're going to be able to, like after the first 3 games, handle prosperity, and after the past 2, continue to handle adversity and know how to bounce back from it. We're going to continue to need great leadership, all right, from our coaches and from our players, and continue to be a unit that takes accountability, starting with me, pointing a thumb and not a finger. Had a great meeting with our captains and our leadership council on Sunday night, discussing the things that went wrong with the game and the things that we need to continue to do to improve. And I think a guy that's not on either of those, but has kind of stepped to the forefront to become a great leader for us is Jonathan Abram. He's a guy after the game when it was very emotional, and obviously guys, weren't pleased with the outcome. Stepped in front of the team, before I had a chance to talk and talk about how the team was in the exact same position as last year after 5 games, being 3-2, and certainly coming off a 31-3 loss to Georgia and a 49-10 loss to Auburn. That we have, the entire season in front of us. Plenty of room to improve, and like I said, being here to elevate the program from good to great, that's something that we're going to have to do. And I was proud of Jonathan for kind of stepping up and taking a great leadership role there, and letting the guys know that there's plenty to play for, and plenty of things we need to do to improve. All right, we can't worry about our goals, although every single one of them are still achievable for us. We've got to continue to play one game at a time, trust the process, and do the little things right, and know that it doesn't get any easier from here. Certainly our schedule from here on out is going to be incredibly difficult, but this staff, the team, and myself personally, welcome the challenge of playing in the SEC West, and know that we're not here, while short-term success is imminent, and we want it to occur immediately, and it is going to happen. Myself, my staff, and this team are also here. We're not just building a team; we're building a program here to make sure we have long-term sustained success in addition to what we're going to accomplish this year. So, very fired up for this opportunity. Excited to be back home. Had an electric atmosphere, last week with the fans, and appreciate everything they did to come out. So I know we're going to see the same thing this week against Auburn in another night game under the lights. So with that, I'll take any of your questions.
Coach, you brought up John Abram, but just talk about both of your safeties, 2 out of your 3 top tackles. What have you seen from them and they're being active on defense?
Coach Hute doing a great job coaching those guys individually. They played a lot of football for us. They kind of coordinate the calls on the back end, make sure everyone's aligned. They kind of balance each other pretty good. Jonathan being a very, very emotional guy, kind of wears it on his sleeve and plays as such. Mark's more of a reserve, steady kind of guy, but getting excellent production out of both of those guys. So they played a ton of ball here. They've seen a lot of things, and certainly their play through 5 games has been what we're looking for out of that position.
Quickly play probably injury things. That means Jamal is still out indefinitely. Yes, and is Tyler day to day, or is he out?
Tyler
Williams
is still day to day with lower body.
Okay, and I know after the game you said you wanted to watch the film to truly evaluate Nick from the last game. Once you did that, what did you think of what he did?
I thought, not counting the sacks, obviously from a rushing standpoint, I thought he made good decisions in the run game and ran the ball well. Particularly in the first half where we had 3 drives that were not 2-minute, and we're able to move into the red zone on 2 of those 3. From a pass game standpoint, certainly we need to complete a high percentage of balls, and we have the opportunity. A lot of it goes into it. Certainly from a quarterback standpoint, having played the position, it's the one that gets more than the credit it deserves and more than the blame it deserves. But certainly 41% or whatever it was, 11 of was we need that to improve, and part of that is the quarterback, part of that's the protection, part of that the route, part of it catching the ball. So certainly Nick on a weekly basis, looking to improve on the things we ask him to do and getting acclimated to a new system. Certainly we're going to need him to, all of us, we're going to need him to play better moving forward than we did in Florida.
Coach, when you have a situation like where Cyrus Mitchell dropped a big pass like that as a young player, how do you kind of coach him through that to kind of help him move forward?
Yeah, yelling at him ain't going to solve anything. It's put him more in the tank. The kid knows he made a mistake and had a critical drop, but to me, you pat him on the head and tell him you're going to need him. in this game, you're going to need to move forward and really correct the issue, not the play. And what happened there is he tried to run before he caught the ball. So the term Coach Getzy and I use are eyes to the tuck. When you catch the ball, you tuck it in before you start running. And he's our leading receiver. He's got a lot of great football in front of him. Had an unfortunate play, but to me, you got to correct in those instances. And that's what we try to do.
Chris Bolton, WCBI.
Hey, Chris.
Okay, we had Keaton and Nick in for a package this past game. Moving forward, are we going to see more Keaton packages, or was that just part of the game script?
No, every week we evaluate the formations that we run in the different, personnels, and based on what they do, does a 2-quarterback set give us an opportunity to make a play or a package of plays? So that's evaluated on a weekly basis. If there's something that we see schematically that would give us a chance to be successful. We used kind of the same stuff last year at Penn State. It would appear for a game, disappear for a couple, and then come back again. So a lot of it's based on how the defense is playing.
Obviously, there aren't any breaks in this conference. You got Auburn this week, but you mentioned how good their defense is. With your struggling offense, how do you talk to your guys and make it more about you guys than this great defense that you're about to face?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. It's at the end of the day about making sure as coaches we game plan, and do a good job today and throughout the week, putting a plan together to put the kids in position to be successful. That we practice that well throughout the course of the week, with great physicality and improved precision. And then when we make the good calls, then we got to find a way to execute them. So I don't think it's as much a concentration on what the opponent's doing, as you mentioned, as, hey, this is what we do, and how can we improve our execution and consistency moving forward.
A season ago at Penn State, your running backs averaged just over 20 carries a game. What are defenses doing differently, or what's different about the play calling that's keeping the ball out of the running back's hands thus far?
Some of it is scheme. When your quarterback has a choice to hand the ball off or run it, a lot of reads that we've been given, dictated the quarterback keep it. And also, you're always evaluating your personnel and attempting to maximize their strengths and minimize their weaknesses. And Nick is a very capable and accomplished runner. And some of the times we want the ball in his hands, but certainly, I guess, to answer your question, kind of a roundabout way, we are examining more and more ways to make sure that when we call a run, it gets put in the running back's stomach and he runs it, as opposed to either a pull and quarterback run or a pull and throw. So all those things are factored in and considered. And certainly when the running backs are averaging, when the running backs are averaging close to 7 yards a carry apiece, we got to find a way to get them the ball a little bit more.
You and Coach Shute both said last week that last week was some of your best practices of the year. What were you seeing in practice that you didn't see on the field on Saturday?
Defensively, I thought it mirrored what we saw on the practice field. Offensively, there wasn't a ton that Florida did different than what we practiced. And once again, it comes down to two things: the calls and the execution. So I've got to do a better job, and I say we as an offense from an execution standpoint have to do a better job.
Past couple of weeks, Nick's kind of had some issues as far as getting the play off in time and the play clock running down. What have you seen there as far as what can be corrected, and just on film, what have you seen to contribute to that?
Yeah, I think we have one delay against Kansas State maybe early on in the year. So, our style of offense is predicated on getting the best play possible against the look presented rather than running a 4-play quickly. So a lot of that is by design. Certainly with us getting a play in quicker can help with some time on the clock, but I don't think that's incredibly abnormal, us using that much of the clock. But certainly you'd like to have it snapped before 1. I guess that's the question.
We heard Nick kind of shoulder a lot of the issues and just the problems that you were having. How do you coach him through that so it's not continuously, that blame isn't affecting his execution going forward?
Yeah, confidence isn't certainly one of Nick's issues. So I think a bad game or bad quarter, bad half, bad play, he's going to have supreme confidence in himself, and like we all do offensively. So with Nick, that's not something that we harp on with him, because his confidence is usually sky high.
with Simmons and Sweat, I know they get a lot of the pub from the defensive side of the football, but how big of a role has Errol Thompson played in letting your defense be what it's been?
Yeah, between him, Leo, and Willie, I think they're, and Brian Cole, kind of a nickel linebacker position. I think those guys at the second level are doing a very good job. You know, Coach Luka and Coach Shue putting in a good position to be successful. But, you know, Errol's a guy that makes all the calls. You know, gets the front set, you know, gets the pressure going to where it needs to go. So kind of, you talk about the center being the eyes and ears of the front, the operation. You know, Errol's kind of the eyes and ears of the defensive operation, getting everything, you know, organized in the line.
Kind of going back to Nick's confidence, and this is a lot because you guys have been behind the sticks in the last 2 weeks, but how much do you think we'll see going forward, you know, short passes, maybe some screen passes, just to get some completions, and then maybe he can complete more stuff down the field after that?
Yeah. You know, that is something, you know, on a weekly basis on, you know, some days when we come in and kind of do our evaluation of the game. You know, we talk about personnel, and, you know, we evaluate that on a really weekly and daily basis of, you know, who puts us in the best position to be successful. And then once you determine who those 11 people are going to be, what can we do schematically to, as I mentioned before, maximize their strengths and minimize their weaknesses. And certainly with, you know, some of the, you know, issues we've been having from a protection standpoint, you know, what are the things that we could do to help? You know, chipping, you know, was some of the stuff we worked on this week. And certainly, you know, screens, draws, getting the ball out quicker, more quick game. You know, that can help alleviate some of the, you know, protection issues we've had.
You mentioned getting the best 11 on the field after the game Saturday.
Yep.
How open is competition this week in terms of playing time?
Yeah, I mean, win, lose, or draw, it's always open. So it's not like we went in Sunday and said, all right, you know, we lost our second consecutive game and didn't play well on offense again. You know, today we're going to decide to evaluate personnel and make changes. So even after wins, we come in and say, hey, this guy performed well, this guy didn't. You know, is there a rotation or a change that we can make to improve us moving forward?
Coach, kind of taking an inventory of where you are, what are maybe you encouraged by and disappointed in at this point in the season?
You know, I think, you know, overall, I'd like to be 5-0, not 3-2. I'd like to have 2 wins in the SEC and not none. But I think from an overall program standpoint, I like the way that our culture is heading and the kids believe in the things that we're stressing on a daily basis to build a long-term, sustained, successful program, discipline, accountability, attention to detail, selflessness. So I like where all those things are heading on and off the field. I think we performed very well defensively throughout the first 5 games. You know, certainly at the end of the Kentucky game, it got away from us a little bit with some leaky yardage and a couple points. But a lot of that stems back to our, you know, offensive inability to sustain a drive. And then offensively, I think we played well for the first 3 games and, you know, below our standard, you know, in the last 2. And special teams, I think we've been solid. So, you know, from an overall standpoint, you know, I think we need to continue to do the things we're doing defensively, you know, not rest on our laurels, continue to improve there. I think we're top 10 in a couple different categories. Offensively, we've got to get it rolling, and that starts with me. And you know, special teams continue to, you know, be solid. So, you know, I'm confident in the direction of the program. I'm confident in our staff and our players. Like I said, this isn't, you know, we're not looking for a 1-year build here. You know, we're looking to, you know, put together a long-term, sustained, successful program where we're consistent in our behaviors, and that'll in turn lead to consistency in our production, where it's not 8 wins, 6 wins, 7 wins. We want to make sure that as we build this, we're building it at the highest level.
You talked about pass protection a little bit. What have you seen in the last 2 games out of your offensive line that's kind of slipped in that area? And if it's more so what other teams are doing and what you guys aren't doing, how do you fix that going forward? Because obviously there's a lot of good defensive lines in this conference.
Yeah, start with you know, number 5 this week. He's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
I think I might have skipped over those guys, but you know, number 5 is a first-round guy. They have, you know, very active linebackers, 57, and then you know, the back, and they've got a bunch of long defensive backs that can cover, haven't given up much pass yardage. But you know, I think the interior, the core of our offensive line has performed a little bit better than the edges in pass protection. You know, I think some of that is relative to the players that we've seen. You know, 99 for Florida and 41 for Kentucky have been very good players. But once again, I think it's a combination of things. You know, and mixing up some of the things we're doing, make sure we're changing the launch point. The third down blitzes we've seen, making sure we're picking those things up, and once again, not to keep harping back, but make sure we're doing things schematically to put our kids in position to be successful, making sure we have the right people in there.
How much does field position factor into the success of the offense and defense?
Very much so. I think you look, obviously at studies on average drive start. I guess common sense would dictate that the further you have to go, the less chance you have to score a touchdown or a field goal. And I think ours was the -19 for this past game, our average starting field position. So that's an 81-yard touchdown drive, and I think theirs was in the mid-30s. So certainly, I think we've done a real good job on our kickoff return unit. I think we took a little slip back this week, but the further we can get the ball, and that goes to defensive stops as well. Getting 3 and outs, making a punt, getting field position. So that's critical.
What was kind of the attitude and morale of the team when you got them back last night, and how'd that practice go?
Practice went good. They were stinging a little bit in our team meeting. They were a little bit sore and upset, as were all of us, and they should be. I don't want guys in there hooting and hollering after a loss, but certainly you don't want them to internalize it. And to me, the most important thing is correct the things that need to be fixed, and then move on. So we went through practice, went through the Florida corrections, and then moved on to Auburn prep. So I thought they did a good job shaking it off.
I know injuries can dictate this, but up to this point, you feel like Marcus Murphy may be, him and Goodman be the only 2 true freshmen that don't redshirt this year.
Who was the second one?
Scott Goodman and Marcus Murphy.
Yeah, Wop won't redshirt either. Yeah, so Marcus and Wop are doing a very, very good job for us on special teams, kind of working to fight their way into the rotation at receiver and safety. And Goodman certainly for a walk-on kid, true freshman, I think he's been doing a real good job of kicking. Excuse me.
Kind of going off the morale thing, obviously you guys had crazy fan support this past Saturday. The atmosphere was electric. Just to kind of keep that going, how important is it, if you got another home game this week, to just kind of break through and, keep them engaged in the second half of the season?
Yeah, and to me it's not if, it's when. And I think that's part of the great thing about Mississippi State and our fan base and our community is that, they're with you. It ain't fair weather fans. They're with you win, lose, or draw. They're going to come out, and I wear a double-sided headset, but I couldn't, so I couldn't hear the bells, but had family members there and friends, and they said it was the loudest environment they had ever been in any college football setting. So I appreciate the heck out of our fans. I know that they love the Bulldogs, and certainly they may not love what we're doing right now, particularly on the offensive side. But I promise you it's going to get fixed. It's going to get better. And the light at the end of the tunnel, it's an opening, not an oncoming train. So we're going to get there.
I know Darrell Williams went down, but he came back into the game. Was he pretty much healthy?
Yeah, he's a tough kid. Lower body day today. So a lot of these guys with the bumps and bruises, they got injury checking yesterday, and we'll monitor them as the week progresses.
Thank you.
Great, appreciate y'all. Y'all stay.